Welcome back to Meet the Industry. My name is Jocelyn Vega, and today I have a super, super special guest, RaqC.
Yes, Raquel Cordova, also known as RaqC, also known as La Comadre.
Ball of energy.
A ball of energy. Yes, that is me. I love life, and I think that's one of my biggest passions is helping people love life too, even though nothing special may be going on. I think a lot of people think they need to be celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a milestone in order to be excited about life.
That's true. I feel like every time, like when I'm going down your feed, I feel like you always give off that vibe like something amazing is about to happen.
Because it is. There's people that are croaking. There's people that are on their deathbed. There's people that are just found out that their husband is sleeping with their sister. I mean, there are some crazy shit. There are crazy things happening in the world. And, I choose to not focus on the bullshit, Can I cuss?
Of course.
Oh, okay, perfect. I choose to not focus on little things that are going to throw me off and just keep moving to the future, Do I have bad days? Of course. We all do. I'm human, but I try to allow the positive to outweigh the negative always.
Right. And I want to, I especially wanted to interview you because before, I ever started to try to be in radio, I would look up to you and your story and how you did it. And I always thought it was so inspiring because you were always kind of like, no bullshit. Like you just get shit done type of thing, You went to Chicago.
Yeah.
You left LA.
I left LA. I started back in 2000, right? When I graduated high school. I graduated in 2000, high school. It was like the year of the Y2K where everybody thought everything was going to collapse.
I cried.
And I graduated in June and I got my internship at Power in, I think it was September because it was like this new semester that was starting. And I started as an intern just kind of like not really knowing. I had this vision for myself where I told myself from a young age I was going to be a reporter on Univision or Fox. And I would tell everybody that. Because my head was just like stuck on that, right? And so I remember going to college, community college, my first year. I went to Rio Hondo College in Whittier.
Okay.
And I just was like, let me get this internship, right? I applied and I had the classes and the credits to do it. And then I remember getting that call as I was walking on campus from an 818 number. They say if you're in the industry and the 818 number calls you, pick up because that's where all the big offices are at, whether it's, radio, television, music labels, executives. So if you get an 818 call, pick up because it might be a real good news call, So I picked up and it was the guy that I was going to intern for. And he was like, hey, you've been cleared for your internship. And I was like, what? I just wasn't expecting it. So I started interning and I was only supposed to intern for one semester, but I convinced him to allow me to intern for another semester. So I ended up interning at Power for 10 months.
Wow.
And I really got to love just the whole ambiance of radio, right? And I had never even thought of radio. I just knew that I wanted to be a communicator, which is what I am. And so from there, I got recommended to my first radio job in Palm Springs. And at U92.7, which was like the only hip hop station in Palm Springs. And I started to co-hosting the morning show with my co-host at that time, which was another female. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was so lost. I couldn't believe that I moved on my own at 19 to a brand new city. That was my biggest, it was, I think a big part of my success is I don't overthink what I know I'm supposed to do. That's tweetable, huh?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't overthink what you're supposed to do. RaqC. No, but that's what it was. I think when you're focused and you know what it is that you want, you just have to do it.
No
you
questions
can't
asked.
let fear overtake you. You can't, especially if the opportunity is being presented to you. And it was one of those opportunities for me that wasn't in my home area, right? It was like Palm Springs is about 2 hours from LA. I was like, I gotta move. I'm not gonna commute 2 hours every day. That would be crazy.
Which is what a lot of people do, though. But the fact that you were like, no, I'm going to move out there. You're 19. And I know that you're really close with your family.
I'm super, if you follow me on social media and you just, I love my family. My family, my mom, my dad, my nieces, my nephews, my sister, my brother, they fill my soul. You know, they know me for me, not for RaqC. They, you know, they just love me unconditionally, and I love to surround myself with that kind of energy. So the fact that I had to get up and go, I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I was like, I got to be at the station. My show starts at 5 a.m. So there was just no way that I was going to commute back and forth. So I moved over there, and I found the place where I was going to live in the Penny Saver. You remember the Penny Saver?
Yeah.
It was like the newspaper back in the days. It was like a little magazine.
Yeah.
And it was like a back house of a house that was under construction. So it was kind of like an abandoned house. The front,
God.
nobody was living in it. There was only 2 back houses. And there was another guy living in the other back house. Didn't know him. He could have been like a serial murderer.
Seriously.
And it was me. And I moved there. The neighborhood that I moved into had like no electricity. It was just bad.
Damn.
But I was like, I don't care. This is what I got to do to be out here in Palm Springs to pursue this dream. And I literally would walk out of my house with a bat every morning because I didn't know the city. I didn't know the neighborhood. All I knew was how to get from my little apartment, back house, little house I was living in, to the radio station. I didn't know how to get anywhere else until I finally started exploring the city. And I was just there to be on the radio.
Right.
That was my only goal. And I remember that experience. I had a boss and I love him till this day. I had a boss that gave me so much tough love, where I actually always felt like he was attacking me.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, he saw my talent and he wanted to make me the best that I could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And now in retrospect, I'm able to see that, and I'm able to say, oh my gosh, if it wasn't for him, I probably would be a terrible radio personality, because he made me and helped me find my voice.
How long were you there for?
I was in Palm Springs for a year and 3 months.
So when you're there, first of all, it's really unheard of to be on a morning show right after your internship.
I know.
That it takes a long time to be on the morning show. That's big. But when you were there, what was your mindset? Were you like, okay, well, I'll just be here for a while, or you knew that was just a stepping stone to get you to the next?
You know what? When I got there,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the mentality of I'm only going to be here for a year and 3 months. I was there and I was absorbing the experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then after a while, after a year, I was like, I feel like my personality was too big for the city,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it was just a small little city, and everybody was just very homey and very that's all they knew was Palm Springs,
Yeah.
So after a year, I told myself, I gotta get out of here. This is not for me. It is too hot. It is too small of a city. What am I doing here? Because when I was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I would always visualize big buildings and I would translate that to success. Everybody has their own definition of success. But in my mind, when I was a little girl, I would think of skyscrapers and I would think of tall buildings, going up an elevator, having a corporate key card.
Yeah.
I always thought I need to work in a building like that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you've gone to different buildings like the NBC building or different buildings, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So I always in my mind as a little girl translated that to, I have to work in a building like that in order for me to be successful. It was so crazy, right? How the mind works. And so I didn't feel that in Palm Springs. But I'm super, super thankful. I was a kind of radio personality. First of all, I didn't even know how I landed on the morning show. I was like, why? What is this? I don't even know what I'm doing. I was only an intern at Power. But it was because in this business, it's really all who you know.
Yeah.
Right? And so my boss at that time, while I was interning, he recommended me to the PD at that time. So it was a credible person that recommended me. So I guess he trusted his judgment and put me on the morning show. But I was literally the kind of talent where I would print the stories that I was going to read because I would deliver the entertainment news and I would read them verbatim. Literally.
You're
when the Associated or Yahoo.com writes an article, I would print them and I would read them. And so one day my boss hotlined me. He called the internal hotline and he's like, what the fuck is that? Do you listen to yourself? And I'm like, thinking that I'm doing a good job. And he said, you're reading from a paper. I could tell. And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, that's not what I hired you for. I hired you to be a personality. I hired you to put your own flavor to those stories. If I wanted somebody that was going to read verbatim, I would have hired that. you know? And so I
Damn.
said, what am I supposed to do to sound different? He says, you need to capture your voice. You need to read the story and you need to make it your own. And after that conversation, I cried. I thought he was attacking me, but in reality, he was really making me find my voice. You know,
Bring
that's
out
what
the
a talent,
RaqC.
that's what a radio personality is. You are a radio personality. What is your personality?
Yeah.
Allow it to come out. So I was able to understand his point of view.
Right.
Like, I'm fucking up. You know what I mean? This is not me. I do not read. I make it my own. And so little by little, I'm so thankful for that Palm Springs experience because I was really able to capture my voice and say, I'm bold. I'm unapologetic. I say how it is. And if I have commentary on Britney Spears, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say what I feel, never to offend anybody, but just putting my own. And that's where I was able to come to the conclusion that it's okay to be yourself in an unapologetic manner.
Right.
And that's where RaqC was born.
Damn. Is that when you had the red hair or that was still before?
Oh my gosh. I think that was before my red hair. That was my signature red hair, right? Yeah. That was before. And I was just absorbing Palm Springs. That was where I first was able to jump onto a stage to present an artist, which was Baby Bash, who's my great friend till this day.
That's great.
He had just come out with his single Sugar Sugar, and it was his first concert. So I was able to introduce him at his first concert in Palm Springs, and it was my first time on a stage, not knowing what I was doing, but just being myself, right?
And you saying like not knowing what you were doing, that never stopped you from like actually doing things and trying things, right?
No, it didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was terrified, you know.
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you. Beautiful morning, you're the sun in my morning, babe. Nothing in the water.
So for the street team, I thought to myself, why would I go onto the street team? But it is the LA market.
Completely different.
Palm Springs is, I think, like market like 133. Yeah. LA is market number 2, right? Because it's New York, LA, Chicago. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be on the street team. I'm not going to be on air talent, but I am going to be in a bigger market.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So I went one day and I put on a street team shirt, and I kind of wasn't even sure, but I put on a street team shirt, and my first event working on the street team, it was a Mexican regional station, was working with Adan Sanchez, who passed away.
Yeah.
You know, it was Chalino's son.
Yeah.
They used to live here like in Southgate. Yeah, girl, that was Bay. He would be so big if he would have been
big in that little amount of time.
Yeah, if he was still alive, he would be the man, right?
Yeah.
So it was my first street team experience, and I was working a private concert with him. It was amazing. And this dude had so many groupies. It was ridiculous. And that was the day that I started disliking groupies because this one groupie almost broke my arm.
What? Okay, wait, what?
It was this experience that I had, and it was the wildest thing because groupies and I guess super fanatics will do anything to meet their artist.
Damn.
You know, and I call that borderline crazy too.
Yeah,
because
that's a little much.
It's too much, but there's a lot of over the top fans like that.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God for fans like that make the artist and the personality who they are. But you also got to remember, like, the artist is human. Like, relax. You know what I mean? You might get more attention without being so escandalosa.
Yeah.
But anyways, my job that day was to block the door from the groupies coming in. You know, we had the whole street team was working, but my job, maybe because they thought they knew that I was like aggressive, you know? So they're like, stand by the door, make sure nobody comes in. And this girl she opened the door, trying to ram it in. And I was like, you need to wait your turn. We're not ready to allow the fans in yet. And she I was trying to close the door and I put my arm in and she almost broke my arm. My arm got stuck. And I was able to open the door a little bit and pull my arm out. But yeah, it was so crazy. And I thought to myself, this is fucking fun. Like, I'm gonna have so much fun working on the street team.
That's hilarious. That would have been like, I'm out.
Yeah. No, I looked at it as like, this is really fun. Like, we really get to be in the mix of everything because that's what a street team does. Yeah. And listen, my mind was not on, oh God, I'm only getting minimum wage. Because let's be real, street teamers earn minimum wage.
Yeah.
And because you're there to grind, you're there to learn, you're there to absorb this industry. But my mind, this is how I knew it was one of my passions because I didn't care that I was getting paid minimum wage. I was there because I loved radio and I loved it. And so I wanted to absorb the experience. And so I remember as a street teamer, you go out, you rock the mic, you set up tents, you go to, you go to Food for Less and you set up a tent in the front and you do what you do. And I got so good at setting up tents, breaking down, setting up the sound system. I mean, I started with the nitty gritty. You can't try to tell me that I just came and landed on radio. I'm like, Like I've worked. I will set up a whole tent and sound system if I need to, right? So I started doing a bunch of events outside of different, business locations. And so clients started coming back to the radio station, salespeople and the PD saying, we want that girl that came to rock our event. And they're like, she's not an on-air talent. She's just a street teamer. So I started getting a lot of requests from from clients saying like, oh, well, she had our event packed. Everybody was participating. The pictures look good. The recap looked good. Like, we want that girl. And I started getting requested as a street teamer to be like
That's like unheard of.
Yeah. And
That's
it was
crazy.
And so I didn't even know this was happening until salespeople were like, hey, would you be willing to go out? We offered them this talent, and this talent, and this talent, and they don't want that talent. They want you.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess if that's okay, I'll do it. And I wasn't even charging like a talent. I was a street teamer. So my program director at that time, I think he noticed, that these conversations were happening in the sales meetings. And so he came up to me one day and he's like, hey, I have an opportunity for you to do radio in Chicago. And I'm like, what? I moved to Palm Springs, but that's in California.
Yeah.
I've never thought about moving to Chicago. And
completely different from LA.
Girl, night and day.
Damn.
You're talking about amazing weather in LA. You're talking about below zero in Chicago.
Can't do that.
Sunshine, snow. I'm talking about polar opposites, really. Like the windy. If you brace Chicago cold, you could brace New York cold because Chicago is colder than New York because of the wind factor.
Right.
It's called the Windy City for a reason. So it's like on top of it snowing, the wind, it's like ice lash. It's so cold out there. Yeah. So I was like super excited. I was like, well, I mean, I'll consider it. But oh my God, the company that I was working for only had Spanish radio stations. So I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I speak more English than Spanish. I'm bilingual because my parents obviously taught me Spanish in the household, but I never visualized myself doing Spanish radio ever. It just wasn't part of what my vision was for myself, right? So I said, oh my God, did this company finally buy an English radio station? I told that to my boss. And he goes, no, you would be doing Mexican regional Spanish radio. And I was like, what?
And you're Salvadorian.
And I'm Salvadorian. And I didn't grow up listening to banda or corridos. I grew up, and which doesn't mean I dislike that music, but I didn't grow up with that. So I wasn't really familiar with the artist or the culture of that music. I was more like into hip hop and R&B. So, I mean, it would have made sense for me to go get a job like at an English station like Power or something, but I never, ever, ever, girl, thought of a Mexican regional station work, especially. And I was like, my Spanish isn't even good enough. And he's like, it's okay. You are going to be La Pocha. And La Pocha means you're going to speak English on air. And whenever your Spanish comes out, like, it's going to be your role. Like that, we're going to make bilingualness cool.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, my boss is onto something, but I still wasn't 100% about moving to Chicago.
Yeah.
But like a person that's pursuing her dreams, I kind of went with his flow. I said, what would I have to do? Like, what's the next step to getting to Chicago? He goes, well, I need you to put a demo together with a co-host. And I said, well, who's my co-host? He's like, you don't know him. So I ended up putting this demo together with my co-host that was going to be my co-host in Chicago.
Oh my God.
Never knew him. We get into a studio together. Our demo comes out epic because I have good energy. He has good energy. And you would have thought by listening to this demo that we knew each other, but we didn't at all. We just both had good energy. And, I knew he was the lead. He knew I was a co-host. We both knew our roles in this team dynamic, and it worked. So my boss loves this demo. He's like, oh my God, Pocha. That was my name. My Pocha.
That's great. That was your
RaqC.
first free.
That was my first. No, well, it was RaqC in Palm Springs. But then in Spanish, he was like, te vamos a decir la Pocha. And I'm like, okay. what the hell? Like, this is going to be so interesting. I'm going to be in a Mexican regional station that's only supposed to be talking Spanish, and I'm going to be English. I'm going to get people that are going to hate me. Like, all these thoughts started going through my head, but I didn't care. So at that time, girl, I was in a relationship. It was the first love of my life. We were living together. So I was like on cloud 9, living with my boyfriend at that time, never thinking about moving away. I was just in college. You know, I was interning at that time, and I wasn't interning anymore, but he saw me go through my internship, and it was everything came so quick. Sometimes opportunities come quick like that to you. And so it wasn't really a time to sit there and contemplate it for a month. It was like, you're going to move in a month. So
damn.
We get this demo together. My boss loves it at that time. And he's like, well, you know, let's move forward. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He's like, well, we would want you in Chicago in a month. In a month.
Wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, this is serious. Like, you need to understand, like, we want you there. So I was like, what the hell? This is so wild. So finally he's like, you know, everything got approved. I went home that day. I talked to my boyfriend about it. And he was like, well, you know, I wouldn't want you to move. And I said, well, I know you wouldn't want me to move, but this is my dream for me. And I was so torn. It was
oh my God.
Another one of those moments of, you know, is it a relationship that's more important to you, or is it your career? Is it your future? And if I would have done anything different, like, I wouldn't be the RaqC that I am now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I would have probably be a girl with kids, married, still with that itch inside of me to do radio. But
like,
if I would have allowed that relationship to stop me, it would have never, my dreams would have never just been what they've been, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, girl, one day when we finally got the green light to go to Chicago, thank God my boyfriend and I were both in that lease at that time. So I went without his permission. When I finally got the green light that I was going to go, without his permission, I went down to the landlord and I said, you know what? Here's my 30-day notice. We're out of here. And she's like, does your boyfriend know you're doing this? And I was like, oh, yeah, he knows. He didn't know shit.
Oh, my God.
Because I didn't want to tell him, because he would have stopped me. He would have been like, don't go. I love you. This and that. And so, yes, girl.
Oh, my God. That must have been so hard for you, though.
So fucking hard. You have no idea how hard. I felt like shit. I felt like the worst girlfriend, but I felt so good about where my career was going. So that day, he gets home. I had to tell him. I couldn't hold this back. And I went up to him and I said, he was like hanging up his work shirt. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but I was like, I have to let this guy know. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I went and I put our 30-day notice downstairs. He's like, why? And I said, because I've made the decision that I have to move to Chicago because I got this job. And girl, I have never seen a man cry so hard for me.
Wow.
Like, it was, I still have the images in my head. He literally was like, like crying.
Oh my God.
Because we were in love. We were really in love. This was like new, and we were so into it, and we were just like in it to win it. And but then this career opportunity came calling me, and I knew that that's what I had to do. And I really got to give it up to one of my friends, Vanessa. She's my ride or die, I tell her, because I had a conversation with her before making this decision because I was so confused. And she happened to be sitting on her stairs across the street from my apartment. And I said, and it was whatever she told me was my determining factor. I was like, I'm going through this. I need your help. Like, my career or a relationship. I don't know what to do. I'm so fucking torn. And she was like, don't say no to the Chicago opportunity.
Damn.
This is what you got to do for yourself. And I am so thankful that I did, because Chicago was such a fun experience for me. I was 100% out of my comfort zone in Chicago, working in Spanish Mexican regional radio.
In a place that you don't even know.
I knew nobody. It was fucking cold. I'm a Southern California girl. I didn't know what I was doing. Literally, I felt more lost in Chicago than I did in Palm Springs. Because in Palm Springs, I was talking in English. In Palm Springs, I could drive 2 hours to come see my family. In Chicago, I was like, I'm closer to New York than I am to California.
Yeah.
That's
nuts. That's nuts.
Shit got real for me. It was just like, I don't know. What am I doing? Like, have I gone crazy? But let me tell you, Chicago was so necessary for me. I grew. I became more more risky. You know, I was able to take more calculated risks. I learned what it was to make good money and go crazy spending money. And then finally it was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, just because you're making good money doesn't mean you got to go shop every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, every paycheck.
Yeah.
I was like on Michigan Avenue shopping. And I had to go through that phase too, because I was a single girl. You know, my boyfriend decided not to go with me over there. So I was like,
so that was
I'm
an
single.
option.
That was an option. I told him, come over with me, and he didn't want to. So I was like, you know what? There is a lot of fine Puerto Ricans in Chicago. I'm single.
Don't find me one. It'll work
Seriously. I mean, it was tough. It was emotionally tough, but career-wise, I was thriving. And I was so happy, and I was so scared. And I remember one time I hosted my first club. It was a Mexican regional club. And I was like, what the fuck do I say? I don't give you any Mexican regional vibe at all. I didn't know what. And then the station, they're like, we're going to take you guys shopping for clothes. So we go, and they ended up taking us to a like cowboy Western
Oh my God.
store to buy botas de ave, like cowboy, like ostrich boots.
Like the legit Mexican Theo boots. Okay.
That cost like $500.
Oh my God.
Yes, girl. I had to rock, like they wanted us to look Mexican regional. So I went, and they took, and I'm not thinking like, yeah, free clothes, let's go. No, girl. It was like a Western cowboy store.
Oh my God.
I was so out of my element, because my element is not Mexican regional music, you know, that I am definitely more of a tropical salsa lover, cumbia lover, hip hop, R&B type of girl.
Yeah.
You know, I was not into that music or that anything, but I was working in that. So that was my reality. Yeah. So girl, I remember hosting the first club in Chicago at this club, and it was so weird. I do not remember what I said.
I was going to ask him, like, do you remember?
I don't remember what I said. I just know that I got the crowd hype. You know, I always say, I have this saying that says energy doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And whether you know what you're doing or not, your energy, if it feels good, people are attracted to it.
Right.
So I think, you know, I've always been very consistent with my energy and who I am. I think that's why people are gravitated to me so much, because I don't flip-flop. I'm not like this person one moment and then this other person this other moment. If I'm just, that's just not me. You know,
You're just
I'm
you all the time.
consistent to who I am. And when I'm me, there's nothing to even, you don't have to try hard. You just are what you are, you know? So yeah, girl, I got up there and I rocked it, and they're like, great job. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I just said. But it was a year. I was out there for a year and 2 months of just that. It was a year and 2 months of just learning. You know, my Spanish got so much better. I'm so thankful for that experience, because my Spanish, I was forced to talk Spanish.
Right.
And I already knew Spanish, but it was a little bit broken because I didn't practice it as much as I should have been practicing it.
Like when you think you know Spanish and you have to have a conversation, you're like, oh shit, I really don't know Spanish. You know? Yeah.
I had the kind of Spanish where I needed to polish up on my Spanish. And so I was forced to having that job. And now, because of that, I can have amazing dialogue in Spanish. Before, if you would tell me, hey, Telemundo wants to have you on for something, or, you know, can you host this? I was like, oh God. I mean, I wouldn't say no. You know, that's one thing my mentor has always taught me. Even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, or if you're not ready, don't say no. And you will learn as you go, because it could be the opportunity of your life, and you could blow it or not. But if you blow it, you'll learn from the experience.
Speaking of that, how important do you think it is to have a mentor?
Oh, girl, it is beyond important. And you know what? And not just one, because you could have a financial mentor, you can have an emotional mentor, you can have a career mentor. I have like 3 mentors, and I have mentors that don't even know they're my mentors. You know, I communicate with certain people like digitally, you know, like on social media. So it's like they don't even know me. I don't know them, but they'll answer my question.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, you have to have a mentor in life, and when it comes to anything. And you know, my biggest thing is, don't be afraid to ask somebody, will you be my mentor? Okay,
because that's what I was going to ask. Because I feel like, even me, like, I feel like you guys are my mentors, but you guys don't know it, because I mean, I look at your stories. But how do you find a mentor that, you know, you can ask questions to?
You just pray that it comes to you. You know, you just, and there's mentors that know me and I know them, but they're so busy or I'm so busy that we just communicate via email. So it could be a relationship like that for a mentor where maybe you don't see them face to face, but they give you exactly the advice that you need for whatever you may be going through.
Right.
Look, I woke up in beast mode with my girl that's Beauty and the Beast though. Been sci-fi, these niggas sleep though. Only thing that's sold out is the C-store.
But I think Mexican regional radio was never really a passion of mine. It was an opportunity, and I took advantage of it, and I moved, and I'm super thankful, and I believe everything happens for a reason. But I would have really been more true to my format and to how I feel most comfortable expressing myself, which is in English. You know, and even though people are like, you express yourself amazing in Spanish, and now I do because I have my Spanish down packed, you know? And this is why I love when La Opinión dubbed me the queen of Spanglish media, because I can rock it in Spanish and I can rock it in English. But my thing is like, be extra true to yourself. You know, don't land and don't do something, I guess, maybe just because it's an opportunity. Like, make sure that it aligns with who you truly are, right? Because now I feel like I have to kind of prove myself in the general market. Like, I'm RaqC. I've been in radio since 2000. I have 17 years of experience under my belt. And in general market, it's kind of like, well, we've never heard of you, you know, or maybe we have, you know, and it's like the Latino market knows who I am.
They know everything about
They know everything about me, but it's like, I need general market to really understand who RaqC is, so that way I could land my talk show and they could, you know, America needs some RaqC in their life, because I don't feel like there's a talk show host like me, you know, that could really give it to you the way America needs to hear it, sin pelos en la lengua, you know, like just, you're going to hear it the way you need to hear it, right? Without sugarcoating stuff. And I think mainstream television is so politically correct. And it's like, I want to be politically incorrect, but not to offend anybody.
Right.
But to give it to you the way you need to hear it. Yeah. So that would be my advice is stay true to what format you really like, to what you really identify with.
Right.
You know, I did Chicago Mexican Regional for an opportunity, but I really did not like that format. Right. But I learned a lot from it too. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like because with any case, I think you just made the best of whatever opportunity you had at the moment. But what do you want 2017 to be? Like,
oh gosh, my word for 27. I mean, I got epic tattooed on me, and I swear since I got epic tattooed on me, my life has been epic. And I think every day is epic, to be really honest. But 2017 for me, I really want to transition more into general market stuff. You know, like, even though they say Latinos are general market, you know, but we are and we're not.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like, I get that we are.
I get that we are, and I understand
we're the majority.
All that. And people are like, RaqC, you're so crazy. Everybody's trying to get to the Latino audience, and you have them in your pocket. But I just think, like, as a whole, I want my talent to be exposed as a whole to whoever sees me, understands me. I really want to find a network or a team that I can work with that truly understands RaqC and my vision. And my ultimate goal in my career is to have a talk show. I love Oprah.
I don't know how you don't have one already.
I don't know. Exactly. You know, high five to that. I don't know how I don't have a talk show yet. I'm telling you, because general market needs to know who RaqC is. And it's, you know, we've talked about this conversations with, you know, different opportunities, and right away people were like, oh my God, yeah, talk show on Telemundo. That's great, and I'll do it, but I feel like I can express myself better in English.
And I feel like that's the other thing. I feel like a lot of Latinos or, you know, Mexican Americans or Latino Americans, they identify with you because we don't just listen to Spanish music.
Exactly.
We know more English, and we listen to some Spanish. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a 70-30 type of thing, you know?
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what
a hybrid situation going on, right?
Hybrid.
I mean, to me, it would be ideal to be on Channel 7 or on a general market platform, right? Where I can speak English and Spanish because I feel like America would understand me.
Right.
But nobody out there is willing to take a risk on a show like that, because it's like, it has to be English or it has to be Spanish. Like, why?
But all of us are not like that.
Exactly. And that's my biggest frustration. And, you know, that's a big frustration that I've had in radio is And I'm so thankful that I was able to work for a station that understood my bilingualism.
Yeah.
You know, my boss started it. He was like, you're going to go and you're going to speak English on a Mexican regional station. He's the one that started. And once I started talking like that, and once I came to LA and I got onto radio in 2005 in LA, I was able to fully embrace being bilingual. I didn't have a station on me saying, you got to speak less English, or, you know, sometimes they would. But for the most part, I was really able to be RaqC, you know, where I would speak English and once in a while a Spanish phrase or a Spanish word would come out, and I would actually get people that would call me on the number, and they would say, I'm from Iran and I love listening to you on the radio because I learned Spanish because I have this thing when I say something in Spanish, I automatically translate it into English because I want people that are listening to me to understand what I'm saying and not be lost. So I would get people that would tell me, I learned Spanish with you. Or I would get people that would say, I learned English with you, because there was Spanish speakers that would listen to the station too, and they would learn English with us, right? You know, they would tell me, my kids talk English, but I don't. But in listening to your station, I learn because you translate things.
That's so crazy.
So it's like, to me, ideally, in my ideal world, I would love a network to understand my flow and say, look, your show's going to be predominantly in English, but if a Spanish word falls out here and there, that's A-okay. You know,
it's so crazy that they don't see that. It makes it so relatable. Like you're not going to catch me watching an all Spanish Telemundo show. Like you're just not.
Catch me. The only show that I watched on Telemundo that was all in Spanish was Celia. And that was because I love Celia Cruz.
But that was like a special, no? Or something?
That was a special, but you won't catch me. Even if I'm watching Spanish news, I will eventually switch to English because I'm like, oh my God, these Spanish people are too dramatic.
They're like, luego.
Esta noche. En Bell Gardens. In Hollywood. Like, it's so dramatic that I feel that it panics the Latin people. Yeah. Versus, I don't know. I just can't even choose what world to live in because I'm so both. I'm such a hybrid. I'm such a hybrid millennial that if a network were to really see the power in that, it could really be successful.
Seriously.
You know, so hopefully there's an executive listening to our interview right now and our show that will say, you know what, this girl RaqC she's onto $1 million idea.
No, it's so true.
Like, why has no network picked something like that up? I don't get it.
Once someone like that really believes picks it up, then everybody's going to be like, oh, you're right. Why didn't I think about this sooner?
Yep.
You're going to be like,
I was the originator of that. Yes, I was.
No, and it's so true. But I want to talk about this really quickly. So I think, okay, you've done all these amazing things, but you also pay it forward. And we were kind of talking about this off air. And I also interviewed her and she talked about you. She said great things.
Oh.
So Letty, she even put it on a post saying that, you know, she credited you to discovering her in a way.
Yeah, Letty.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So, you know, I am a big believer in paying it forward. It's part of my personality. I'm the founder of a nonprofit because I believe in
Amigas for My Soul.
Amigas for My Soul, yes. We're on Instagram, so you can follow us. It's Amigas, the number 4, My Soul. But to me, life doesn't feel fulfilling if I'm not paying it forward in some way. Just because I've had so many amazing mentors and angels in my life that have helped accelerate my career or catapult me to where I have to be. And if I don't give back, I just feel selfish.
Right.
And there's not a lot of people like that. And in doing nonprofit work, I've learned that there is a lot more selfish people in the world than people that like to pay it forward like myself.
Right.
You know? But when it comes to, and I pay it forward with women, and I think it organically came out when I met Letty. So Letty was actually interning at the station that I used to work at, one of the stations that I used to work at, and she was interning with another talent, and I saw her, I would always see her, you know, come in and out, and I had the shift, I don't know what shift I was doing, but I would always run into her, and she always stood out to me, you know, she would always go above and beyond, and I don't know if the talent that was working with her would see that in her, right? But I have this gift where I could see certain things in people. I could see your drive. I could see your desire. I could see your ambition when nobody else could see it. And I verbalize things, you know, because people need to hear that they're amazing, right? Not to make them cocky, but to reassure them that they're on the right path, I
Right,
guess,
right.
right? So that's just your intuition when it talks to you. That's why I always tell people, when you want to compliment someone, do it, because they're words that could literally uplift somebody or not,
Right.
right? And it's like, a compliment is free.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost money to compliment someone, like to say, hey, you're beautiful. I love your eyes. I love that ring.
Mm-hmm.
It's free, but people just hold back from
Right.
expressing what they truly want to express, and it's sad. So I encourage anybody listening to this, like, compliment people more.
It's free, like you said, because some people act like they pay $100 for.
Yes, girl. It's like, please get over yourself. So Letty, one day I saw her. She was packing her stuff up, and I think I was doing afternoons. Yeah, I was doing afternoons. It was after the midday shift. And I was walking in, and I just stopped her, and I said, hey, you know what? I've had my eye on you. And I know you're not interning with me. And I'm sorry if I seem to be like intrusive, but I just want to let you know that I see you and you're in your own lane. And I feel the vibe that you give me is like, you're one of a kind, and you have what it takes to make it in this business. And she kind of she was an intern. So when you're an intern anywhere, you kind of feel like you're at the bottom of the everything,
Yeah.
And she kind of just looked up at me because Letty's super
I know.
petite and cute, right?
Yeah.
She looked up to me and she's like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, I needed to hear that. And I said, yeah, don't doubt your greatness, because you are great. And I meant
That's
it.
another Twitter quote.
Yeah, don't doubt your greatness, because you are great. And I think it was those words that literally Letty has inside of her soul that allowed her to get this tunnel vision of what she wanted to become. And now look at her. She's thriving. She's working for iHeartMedia.
Yeah. She literally created her own lane.
She created her own lane. She is I think she is one of the most knowledgeable people about hip hop that I know.
Yeah.
She could have sat there and had a conversation with Tupac and he would have been blown away. Like, she knows so much about hip hop.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that she's working at a hip hop station.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's
that's what I
passionate,
mean
yeah.
about staying in that lane that you're good at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I get people that are like, why were you never on Power? And I'm like, that's a good question, because I love hip hop and
Right.
I love R&B. Like, it's really one of my passions. But that obviously wasn't my lane to do. You know what I mean? But Letty really stayed true to her knowledge and to what she liked, and she took with it and she ran. So, Letty and I, we stay in contact, and I see her doing her things, and I always compliment her, like, you're a single mom that is out there making moves for yourself. And, I like to say that I really implanted that seed of letting her know and reaffirming to her, like, she was badass, and look at her now. She's thriving.
And what would you say, what do you credit your success to? Because you're fearless, you're a risk taker, like, you're bubbly, you have a great personality. Like, what do you think is the reason why you're so successful?
Because I stay true to who I am, and I don't try to change to satisfy other people. Somebody told me the other day on Snapchat, RaqC, I love following you on Snapchat. You literally inspire me. When you're working out, you make my ass get up and go work out, and just the things that you say. I'm very random. I have a very random and crazy imagination. And so when I'm inspired, I could see something that inspires something inside of me, and I will get my Snapchat and I'll start talking about it, but I always give it the RaqC perspective, So I think what inspires me is life in itself and the possibilities of where I can be and where I want to be. It's my own passion. I really want to say that I was born with a fire and energy about life. Every day is a new opportunity to grow, to learn something new. Like, I have promised myself that, because I don't make New Year's resolutions, I focus on a word. So I encourage people, focus on a word, because New Year's resolutions are, by the time March comes, you're going to have, you forget, and you're going to feel like a loser, because you're like, dang, I haven't done that and I haven't done that. Yeah. So when you focus on a word, I feel like that word grounds your year. Like, when you're losing it, when you feel sad, depressed, whatever emotion you may be feeling, when you think of that word, it grounds you. It like recalibrates you. So my word this year is create, because all I want to do this year is create, whether that means create kids, whether that means create opportunities, create more money, create love, create joy. We can all create. Yeah. And so some people, when people admire me and kind of like so much, I'm like, everything I am, you can be if you choose to be true to you and your vision. You don't have to do it like me. You don't have to be a mimic copy of me, but give it your flavor, because I they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. To me, I'm like, fuck that. Be creative. Don't imitate me. Do things with your own style, with your own swag. So that imitation.
Have you had people like try to?
Girl, yes, a lot. It happens to me a lot. Like
Is that frustrating to you?
It's before it would really, really get to me, and I've come to the conclusion that when you're a leader, it's gonna happen. Yeah, it's part of the territory, But nobody is me,
right?
And it's like Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez. How many people dress up as Jennifer Lopez for Halloween? And maybe try to mimic her with her outfits, but nobody could do it like J-Lo because she's J-Lo.
Yeah.
And she has her formula. Yeah. And her personality. So
and it's who she is, like legit.
She is, exactly. So to me, it irritates me, when I see certain things or when I see people trying to execute things the way I do it, and especially if I kind of know them, I'm like, wait a minute, like. That's why you were picking my brain 6 months ago about this certain situation because look at you now.
Yeah. Doing
your thing with the same formula trying to get the same, so it is frustrating, but to anybody that's listening to this and you're a leader, like that's part of being a leader. You will get mimicked. You will get you will get copied in so many ways, but just remember that nobody has your DNA, nobody has your fingerprint, nobody has your tongue print. You are you, and that's why you're special. So what really motivates me is life and everything in it, and just thinking about everything I can create and everything that's out there. I believe in abundance. You know what I mean? That's why I don't hate on people, because I'm like, dude, abundance is like the ocean. Take a bucket to the ocean. If everybody right now in the world were to take a bucket to the ocean, you could have a small bucket. I could have a huge bucket. Somebody else can have an even bigger bucket than me. Get water out of the ocean. Will the ocean be empty? No. Yeah. Because that's abundance, And so when you step into that abundance energy, there is enough for everybody, And women, we have this big thing where we like to compare ourselves. And that's, I think, just natural, And I think social media doesn't make that any easier. Yeah. But don't compare yourself to nobody, because nobody knows your struggles, your journey. Nobody knows. I think a lot of times people see me as a LA radio personality, but they don't understand that for a lot of years, for a year, I lived super nervous in Palm Springs, in the back of an abandoned house. And they don't understand the struggle of what it was to wake up every morning in a neighborhood I didn't know, with the bat in my hand, going to work every morning, getting a second job at Smart and Final, and, working as a cashier as I was a radio personality in Smart and Final in Palm Springs, and people recognizing me as they were checking out. They're like, hey, aren't you that girl from the radio? Because I have a unique voice. And I'm like, no. And I would deny it until one day I was like, you know what? Fuck that. That's me. Like, I don't make enough money at the radio station to support myself. And if I'm out here in Palm Springs doing this alone, I have to be able to survive. I'm not going to call mommy and daddy to give me a loan. Right. So people don't understand that struggle that I went through. They just look at, oh my God, RaqC gets to sit down with this person and this and that. And she gets her nails done. Like, everybody gets their nails done. But a lot of people are very notorious of just paying attention to all the glitz and the glam in this business, but they don't understand the nitty gritty.
And how hard and how long you've been working towards everything.
They don't understand how I used to set up tents when I was part of the street team, from going from a radio personality to the street team. Like, I took a step down, but in reality, it was like a step up for me because I was in a bigger market. So, don't get caught up in the glitz and glam. Get caught up in the journey. Yeah. Read, educate yourself on people before you judge people.
Man, I feel so motivated right now. I'm just like, you know what? Let's cut this because I need to go create some shit.
Oh my God, create, girl. Think about your word for this year.
So your word is create.
My word is create, and that's all I plan on doing this year is creating,
Do you believe in manifesting?
I believe in manifestation 1,000%.
I know we almost have to go, but tell me, has there ever been anything that you manifested that was so surreal to you?
Girl, my life.
Really?
It's funny because everything that I've accomplished in my life, I've visualized it before.
Man.
And I've always known that it's a matter of time in order for that to happen. You know, it will be scary because you will have to walk away from situations, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship. I mean, I had to do it for my relationship, and I don't even know, you know, women were very emotional.
Yeah.
So when you are in love and you have to kind of step away from that to pursue a dream, that shit is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That was more than a heartbreak. That was like a career that pays my bills and gives me the experience that I'm seeking, or a man that potentially can make me happy too. So it's manifestation is whatever you want it to be. You know, I don't think people understand the power of their mind, and whatever you think in your mind is going to manifest. So with that being said, if your thoughts are thoughts of failure, thoughts of doubt, thoughts of I'm not good enough, those kind of thoughts, you will manifest a life of scarcity. You will manifest a life of depression, a life of nothing, you know, of unhappiness. But if you in your mind think of opportunities, success, and you start really thinking like, that's the life I want to have. And you know what? Every day I'm going to wake up joyous and happy because I want to attract that energy into my world.
Right.
You will attract that into your world. From the smallest thing to the biggest thing. But manifestation works like this. It's very simple. You could think of somebody in your mind, and that person could pop up on your Instagram feed. That person could text you. That person can call you. That person, maybe you get a call of like, oh my God, that person died. That's manifestation. When you think of it, and then it all of a sudden manifests in some way.
Like, it's not a coincidence. It's happening because it's in your mind.
Absolutely. So manifestation is the real deal. So just remember, positive thoughts and negative thoughts take the same amount of energy. So think, what kind of manifestation do you want to have?
Right.
Good or bad? They both take the same amount of energy, so you might as well make them good thoughts.
And then the last thing, best piece of advice you would have for someone that wants to be amazing like you, like following your career footsteps. Like what would you say if you can only say one thing to them, like the most meaningful thing?
That wants to get into this industry, or that wants to just have an amazing life?
Let's go with amazing life.
Amazing life. Okay, one thing, if you want to have an amazing life, listen to your soul.
Okay.
Not even your heart. Listen to your soul, because the soul never lies. And just listen to your soul. And I know that's deep, and I know that's probably, some people are probably crying listening to this because it's exactly what they needed to hear.
Yeah.
But even I struggle with that sometimes, where it's like, should I do this or should I not do this? Is this going to have good consequences in the future or bad, right? Because, you know, as you get older, you start thinking of things in a deeper way.
Yeah.
But I just feel like your soul never lies. And the last thing you want to do when you're older is regret anything, you know, and say, you know what? I'm so glad I did that, even though it didn't turn out exactly the way I thought it would, but at least I did it.
Yeah.
So listen to your soul and that little voice, man. It never, ever lies to you, ever.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your knowledge, because even off air, we were talking a lot, and I really appreciate everything that you have to offer. Is anyone listening that needs to hear everything you just said? So I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you, girl. I'm proud of you doing your thing.
Thank you.
And these are the kind of interviews that people really need to hear, because these are real life stories.
Yeah.
You know, this is a real life story of what somebody has gone through.
Yeah.
And it's not always peaches and roses.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you know, shit and more shit.
Yeah.
But even in moments like that, you got to stay positive and optimistic. You got to say like, okay, I'm here for a reason. Let's grind.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
And always have that mentality that something amazing is about to happen, because you never know. It could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
And you know what? Being that we live in a social media world, don't put all your business out there. Keep some mystery about yourself. You know, I just posted something the other day on my Instagram, and it said like, people, do you have oh my God, I don't have to pull my Instagram up, but it said something about there's people, because I like to be private, believe it or not. Even though I'm a public personality, people don't really know as much as they think they know about me. And it says this: very private people have mastered the art of telling you little about themselves, but doing it in such a way that you think you know a lot.
Yeah.
And that's me. You know, we live in a social media world where everybody wants to post everything. And I just feel like, keep some shit to yourself.
Yeah. We don't need to know everything.
Keep some mystery to yourself and keep people guessing. You can't be predictable. That's one thing I am not. I am not predictable. I'm consistent with what I do, like eating healthy, leading an active, healthy lifestyle. That's consistency. And that's a big difference between putting all your stuff out there.
Right.
I do my consistency to motivate others, but there is definitely a lot of mystery about me. And that's it's sacred. Like that's only you should know certain things.
Not everything has to be out there. And you know, that's another thing I was going to tell you, that it's really hard to be consistent. But you, throughout your whole social media time, you've always been consistent.
You know what? That's the biggest thing people notice with me is I love you and I follow you because you are so consistent with what you do. And I am, because it's part of who I am.
Right.
You know, and I've learned consistency is the only thing that gives me results. So why would I not be consistent with my life?
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to have an amazing life, be consistent and be you unapologetically.
Love that. And where can people find you?
People can find me on social media. My Instagram is at RaqC's World. And so for all of the people that have never heard of me or don't know how to spell my name, I spell my name very one of a kind because I am one of one, right? It's RaqC for my first name, which is Raquel. And then my last name is Cordova. So it's RaqC. That's how I spell RaqC. So my Instagram is RaqC's World, RaqC's World. And I'm on Facebook under RaqC. And my website, RaqConline.com. And then if you go onto my website, you can find all my social media handles up to on the right-hand corner.
And you also have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel, RaqC's World. And I've only had it up for 1 year, but it's doing pretty good. I really want to blow it up this year a lot more.
And
I
lead
do a lot
for
of
success.
cooking. I do a lot of cooking videos on my YouTube, a lot of healthy cooking videos because, girl, I love to eat. And if I ate everything I wanted to eat, I would be so fat. So I always like to switch it up and do, healthy recipes. And then I also released my first book last year in 2016. It's called Lead with Success. It's a book collaboration that I did with 7 other Latinas.
Okay.
So yeah, we all talk about leadership and what it is to be a leader in whatever industry you're in. And just, different tips and tricks on how to stay consistent to your
And
world.
you can get it on Amazon.
You can get it on Amazon, and then you can also get it on my... Oh, and I also have my own hat and glass line, Brazen by RaqC. And brazen, by the way, if you look it up on the dictionary, it means to be bold and unapologetic in everything you do.
Yeah.
So I like to create, hats with one-of-a-kind words on there and glasses that I would rock. So yeah, girl, I have a lot of stuff going for myself. And
super exciting and inspiring.
yeah, and one thing I've learned about this business is don't put all your eggs in one bucket. Because when you least expect it, we were talking about this off the air, something could be taken away from you. And if you don't have any other option, you will get depressed and you will get sad and you'll say, what the fuck? And you will be forced to create other streams of revenue for yourself. So they say a millionaire has at least 7 different forms of revenue. So if you want to be a millionaire one day, create different ways to make money. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
I love you. And thank you
so
for calling me on your show. And hopefully we will collaborate more in the future.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Yes.